Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis alongside Josh Guest for his weekly segment. I haven't decided, Josh, if this is going to air on Friday or if it's going to air on Sunday. So everybody be wary of that. So, Josh, going into spring practice and knowing what we've known right now, what's some of the players that have your attention? What are you going to be paying attention to as spring practice goes through?
Well, obviously, anybody on the D-line. That'll be a fun group to watch. The competition. We think we kind of think we know who the starters may be, but as we talked about with the Peach Bowl sort of being let me show you what I can do to the guys that are coming back. I think spring training is going to be a lot of that too, especially in a group like that. I think it's only going to make it better. Last year when Spencer Sanders came and Walker Howard, we had a quarterback room and everybody talked about it was the best in the country and who would start and everything else. Well, it was Dart, and it should have been Dart, and he proved it. And he'll be the starter unquestioned next year. But I think there probably are some spots up for grabs. The linebackers. What's Sunterian Perkins going to do? Is he going to be a linebacker? Is he going to be in the defensive backfield? Is he going to, are they speed-wise or on the end? I mean, Dudley showed in the bowl game he can play that Charles Johnson end role there. And so I think it's exciting to see where the pieces on the defense fall. Also, offense as well. There's some good things. Who do we ultimately bring in at running back? If we bring anybody else in, how does that look? I know that we talk about replacing the production, and something I didn't say last week and meant to was the one big issue I see with Judkins gone is people keyed on that dude. Opposing defenses were keyed to number 4. They always knew where he was. And so if you take that away, that allows them a little bit more freedom. But the deal, I mean, Dart he was unbelievable in the bowl. And you gotta expect a jump to year 3. One of the things that I loved is they said on the season, Ole Miss, the show they did on the Penn State Peach Bowl, how that number 1 ranked defense was carved up for almost twice their average on the season. Yeah, number 1. And so, we saw how that went for them. But it was even talked about on the broadcast, or maybe it was the season. Somewhere I saw it where in the second half, they just weren't ready for all the plays they were seeing, which, again, you ask, is it Seiko, Zach Seiko or something? Locked on? And I don't think he got what you were saying because they just don't understand. And I think the team didn't understand either. I think Franklin has seen it in the SEC, but it's one thing to have seen it as a coach and another thing for your players to have experienced it. And so they got a full dose of it, and they didn't want any more of it. I'm pretty sure they don't want any more of it.
Yeah, speaking of Big Ten players, Amorion Walker committed to Ole Miss as a transfer from the Michigan Wolverines. We're talking about a 6'4", 180-pound cornerback. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list where, like the 3-cone drill, he would have broke the NFL record for the combine for his hand time on it. And he's a 4.3 runner. I mean, just unbelievably athletically gifted. Now, he's going to be raw. He's going to be a raw player. But with Chris Graves penciled in as a starter, and he started against Georgia this year, so I think we can look at him as taking a step to be ready to go for next year, the former top 100 player. And Cedric Beavers, who earlier in the week I did a video on to where you could actually see what he could do. I think he's going to start on the other side, and that'll just make it to where Amorion Walker can kind of just become a dude and get ready and build and build and build.
Well, and we've seen it with basketball where there's been other dudes come in and people like Matthew Morrell now can kind of relax and just let the game come to him. And, man, how good has he been lately? Mm-hmm. And so, there's others on the basketball team as well. And, just with Juju Murray coming in and as you called him, a run stopper in a good way. What a shot he hit against, was it Vandy? They pulled back within 3 in the second half, and then he just drains that 3 and just wow. So I think that kind of thing happens. I'm also excited because with guys like Dudley. You got Perkins. Now you got Walker. You got all these guys that have unreal athletic ability, which I don't want to claim to know the X's and O's of football, but I think that's going to give them some what's the word I'm looking for? Variability in where they're used and how they're used and where they line up.
Positional versatility.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Positional versatility. Thank you. I even said that the other day and then couldn't think of it now. I guess that's what getting older does. But yeah, positional versatility, and I just think it's going to be fun to watch because you may have Walker playing, corner out on an island on one play, and the next play he comes in, he's playing on the end and gets a sack. Who knows? I mean, with his size and speed, it's just which is uncanny and unruly. It's not even fair that somebody can do some of those things that not only he can do, but some of these athletes, just watching them is pretty amazing. Yeah,
one of the quote negative things that has happened this week is Tyler Barron flipped his commitment to Louisville. Which, I live streamed on it, and my starting four that I was thinking about. And if you want to go back to videos all towards the beginning, since he committed, it was, Amon Mielen, it was, JJ Pegues, it was Walter Nolan, it was Jared Ivey. And I've been consistent on that. So what you were losing, and I talked to David Eckert about it, is somebody that can spell Amon Mielen. And because he's not going to play 85% of the snaps. So with him, that being out of there, that makes me wonder if TJ Dudley, which played that position and played it pretty effectively in the Peach Bowl, if he is kind of destined to be the spell at that jack type position.
He could. And again, you just have, and don't forget Perkins. I mean, you got Suntarian Perkins who has moved around already this year just as a freshman. And he has a bunch of raw talent as well. So it's pretty exciting to see. And I want to say something because I saw a lot of the comments people were making on your stream and elsewhere about their word not meaning anything. Just because, and I want to caution people, just because somebody's word might not mean something doesn't mean that they'll take the route that it means nothing, because there are still people who will keep their word. And so I just want to caution people that Barron had a better situation, maybe there. I think his brother's there, right? Two of his other teammates are there. So, am I happy about it? No. But before I get too worked up, let me just remember, hey, these other guys are still here right now. Now, by the time this airs, who knows what could have happened. But again, I still think this is a kind of a one-off situation and not the norm that we're going to see from all these other guys, walking or flipping or anything else. I know people are coming after them. But, and I think you and Brad Logan talked about this. Something's got to be done at some point. We don't know what the answer is, but something's got to be done at some point to kind of rein it in. But just to speak on that a little bit, this seems to take a coach or someone who's willing to morph and change and basically play with the cards they're dealt. And who better than Lane Kiffin? And not only that, I just think Pete Golding and he are a match made in heaven because they take the pieces they're given and they do wonderful things with them. Now Pete's getting some of his own guys, and it looks like he's getting very versatile guys so that you may not know what he's going to do. And that's part of his genius. And then we got B. Brown as well on the back end. And if we have domination up front and we get even better in the back with more picks and that kind of stuff, because the two work hand in hand. If we get more pressure on the quarterback and he's got less time, he's going to make mistakes. And if he makes mistakes and we have better coached DBs, and shouldn't say better coached. I'm not saying but he's proven it with his track record on
players in position.
Interceptions. Mm-hmm. What's that?
Players in position to take advantage of the mistake.
And so they're going to work in tandem. This is such a great, in my opinion, so anxious to see it because I think it's a great marriage of coaches here. And I think it's going to be awesome to watch as it unfolds. There were some knuckleheads talking about demotion and how this was terrible. Like one guy was really crazy talking about this being a bad thing. And I thought he was not even in touch with the reality. But nonetheless, this is really, really good stuff. Really exciting. I can't wait to see it unfold. I almost went with a train on my virtual background and wrote hype across it. Maybe that's coming soon. We'll see.
Yeah. You can't stop the hype train. The hype train is rolling. There's no getting around it at this point. Just enjoy the ride, look out the window, and let's just go on to the 2024 playoff and see what's up. So we're about by the time this airs, a little over a week until the last drop add date at Ole Miss, which signifies the end of the portal. What are your needs? What do you want to see in the last little bit?
Well, do we pick up another running back? Do we get another offensive lineman? Do we get anybody else? Do we replace a defensive lineman? Do we need to with the depth we have, especially with the freshmen coming in? So, I mean, we got Daquan Wright, so I don't know that we need another tight end. The receiver room is absolutely loaded. But the big thing is, and you've said this, and people kind of turned it around on you when Barron left, is that Ole Miss starts late. It's a disadvantage. Well, it might have been at that point, but it's about to turn into an advantage because other schools' drop add dates are going to be gone. And when you only have a handful of places you can go, and Ole Miss is one of them, I mean, that obviously helps your chances, because when every school hasn't started, they can go anywhere they want to go. But once Alabama starts, they can't go there. Once the drop ad's gone, once, Michigan or Washington or wherever. So it's only going to turn in. It's just, again, being a numbers guy, simple statistics, simple probability. If I only have 8 places to choose from, then Ole Miss has got a 1 out of 8 chance. Now, it's not all things being even, but the chances are better than 112 places still being open.
I took quantitative reasoning at Ole Miss. That was one of my maths. And one of the questions on the final are, what are the odds of rolling a 3 on a 6-sided die? And that tells you the level at which of the class I was taking at that point.
Well, hey, a little history on that. I was actually the coordinator of that course around the year 2000, somewhere in there at Ole Miss, maybe 2000, 2001, 2002. I was the coordinator for the department for quantitative reasoning, and we just brought it back in the community college system, and we brought it to our campus at Northwest, or our college here 2 years ago. So it's making a comeback. It's a great course for non-math majors, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I was majoring in broadcast journalism, and I could not pass college algebra. I am an algebra dummy. I mean, I just can't do it. And so I took that, and I took intermediate statistics, and those were my 2 maths.
Yes, and also, I don't know if you remember this or not, so I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but I bet you in your course of quantitative reasoning, you had a 4-week section on finance where you did like monthly payment formulas.
Yes, it was compound interest and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And so what's more useful to a college student than learning about interest? Because everybody borrows money for a car or a house at some point. To me, it was a super beneficial class, again, for those non-math majors, non-science, non-STEM. And so I commend you for taking it. And I'm a big proponent of the course myself. Sorry, as I digress.
Yeah. And after I took that class, that's one of the main reasons I have no debt. I have 0 debt. Everything I have is paid for. And a large part of it is me actually understanding how interest works at different levels.
Look at that. I may cut this out as a testimonial. So I wanted to go on to basketball for just a second, because I've become very comfortable with our coaching staff in football, and I trust them. I trust Chris Beard. If you don't trust Chris Beard, you have trust issues. And just a personal note, when we beat the brakes off of Florida and scored 100 in an SEC game, the last time before last week that happened was March the 3rd, 2001. Now, why is that personally great for me? Because that's the day I got married. And so that was the last time Ole Miss scored 100 in an SEC game. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. And man, the team is rolling. I think you even mentioned this about the Vandy game. Even when they pull within 3, I wasn't necessarily worried they were going to beat us, because we got Beard, and he stays calm for the most part, and the players he believes in the players, and I think that's a big thing. When I teach math, I talk about getting the students to believe in themselves and that I believe in them, and I think the coaching doing that as well is such a big deal because of the mental aspect of it. When you believe in yourself, you're going to be a lot more successful than when you don't. And it doesn't matter if it's math or basketball or football or podcast or whatever it is, you're going to be more successful in life if you believe in yourself. And I believe that Beard instills belief in his players, and you can see it when times get tough. They trust their shot. They trust their read. They don't always take the best shot, but they do many, many, many times. And so, man, it's just been fun to watch. So I'm just loving what's going on. Just loving it.
An interesting thing. I was married on December 28th, 2000, and that was the day at the Music City Bowl where Eli Manning came in against West Virginia. That wedding date was obviously set well in advance. I did not think that Ole Miss was going to be in that game. Somebody offered tickets, and my wife was like, no, he would not go to a ticket on our wedding night. And I'm sitting there like, why aren't we at the game? It was crazy. So,
That'd been a great honeymoon.
yeah. But it was like 7 degrees that night. It was terribly cold at that game. And if everybody realizes Nissan Stadium in Nashville, it is either the hottest or the coldest place on earth.
Oh, I was on the field taking pictures that night. It was so cold.
Yeah, it's either the hottest or the coldest place on earth, and there's nothing in between. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Josh Guest joins us for his weekly segment. I hope everybody has a good weekend, good Sunday, and we will talk to you later. Take care.
Howdy toddy.